There we go.
All right.
Okay.
That should work. All right. Well, had a bit of a hiatus there. Not super long. Hey, whatever.
Yeah, it's all good.
People aren't paying nothing for this. It's all free.
Yeah, it's free, so
Yeah.
enjoy, heckle away.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get a few comments by anyone, because it looks like, we've had a few people come and visit us, so I don't know if...
They watch, they just don't comment.
Yeah, I think that's the norm, though. I mean, for every comment on the internet, I think there's probably, an exponentially large amount of non-comment views of things, so I'm not too worried about it. It's not like we're doing this for, market share, ad revenue, or anything. So there's no negative impact for us.
We've got to push those verticals.
Yeah, it would be nice to hear back, though. Just to hear back. It's always good to hear back, right? Mm-hmm. So, anyways, did you guys you and Vince end up chatting earlier this week? Did that work out?
No, Vince had something he had to do too, and he said, well, maybe he'd be able to drop in, but I said, well, don't bother. Don't get into a rush or anything. Like, it's fine. We'll reschedule.
Well, for anybody listening,
might drop in later. So,
well, for anybody listening in, we were going to do this earlier in the week, but then I have a teething child at home, and my wife had just had enough dealing with it, so I had to cancel for our chat. I had to go be a parent, that is that's just the way it is, right?
Well, you said you remember that, and yes, too well.
Well, she just cut her first tooth. Like, she's been working on it for months. It's just beneath the surface, and it just poked out. And they just, when kids are teething, they're just owly, and you can't console them. And it's just a matter of putting in your time until the tooth decides to crack the surface.
Yeah, my guys here they just didn't want to sleep for 2 years.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Oh, well, it's not that bad, but
it had nothing to do with teeth. They just
felt
not
like
interested.
Sleep,
Yep.
Yeah. The joys of parenthood, eh? Mm-hmm. The things they don't tell you about in the manual. You will never sleep. Wait,
well, even if they do, you wouldn't pay attention to that.
No, they wouldn't either. At least, my girls wouldn't. Lily, she is so stubborn. She just does what she wants to anyway. So I just roll with it. I was like that as a kid, so it's karma.
I was thinking, is your mom saying that's just payback?
Oh yeah, my mom. Every single time she gets a chance to, she rubs it in. She's like, "Oh, I remember somebody like that," and that's not what you want to hear, right? You want to get a little bit of support, and nope.
Yeah, no. You'll get none here.
Yeah, my wife doesn't. She doesn't feel that's fair, though. She's like, I didn't do anything. I deserve this.
Guilt by association.
Yeah, totally. It's like, well, it's your kid, so walk it off, right? But that's kind of how it is. So I was going to start here. I wanted to take a moment and gush. And pulled my full nerd hat on, because after we talked a couple weeks ago, we talked about Transformers War for Cybertron, and Owen sent me a YouTube video of some guy playing through the game. And I thought, oh, this looks good. So I went and picked it up at EV Games for a few bucks, and oh my God, for a kid that grew up in the 80s during the peak of the Transformers, like I remember getting Grimlock as a toy in 1986 or 84, so whatever year. I remember it quite vividly, and I remember playing
with
that
little sticker on it, the heat-sensitive sticker.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones that had that, and I remember getting it and sitting in the back car, and I think for a car we had, it was a Chrysler. It wasn't a Reliant, but it was similar. It was this big two-door old Chrysler. We called it Old Willie, the silver car. And I remember being in the back seat playing with Grimlock, sitting on the floor. This is back in the 80s when kids
no
didn't have to sit in their car seats, and I was sitting on the floor playing.
Roll your way into the trunk and sit beside the jack. Sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I remember playing with Grimlock, and it was I loved that toy, and I still have a Grimlock toy from that, like a G1 original, to this day. So it's one of my prized possessions. So anyways, the game Did you end up playing it, Owen? Did you own it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've played through, I don't know, the first few missions. Like, I play through it, and the boys watch. And they're all, they're into it.
Even Lily sat down and watched it while I was playing it.
Wow,
and
it's impressive.
You know, I was saying to a buddy the other day, I said, it's better than I would have imagined it when I was playing it as a kid. You know, like
it looks like what
good.
you. When every time you saw that, like an ad for like the Commodore 64 version of the Transformers game, this is what you wanted to play.
Well, no, this is like this is better than my imagination could have done it as a kid when I was playing. You know, there was there's a scene in the game where you can run around when you're playing as Optimus Prime, and you can just stop wherever you are and look up, and Metroplex is walking around destroying stuff, and you just look up, and I'm playing the game and I'm in awe. I stop and I just have to, catch my breath. It's I can't believe I just saw that happen. Like it's better than I remembered it as a child. Like I'm gushing, but it was so awesome to play and go through it.
Because we haven't gone all the way through. Oh, okay. Yeah,
I beat it, and there's a level near the end called Grimlock Smash. It's like the second last level, and it's awesome. You are a Dinobot just destroying everything. It's great.
We're only maybe 4 or 5 missions in, so
you play actually. There's quite a few missions where you play as Decepticons, and I actually didn't like. I didn't like playing it. I don't like being Decepticons. They're bad. Like shooting an Autobot made me feel bad. Like I'm like I can't do this. It was hard for me to play those levels, just because you're like destroying Autobots and you're doing your thing, and it's just wrong. It feels so wrong on so many levels. So
they're not real, right, Mike?
No, I know,
okay,
but
not real.
That's how much I enjoyed the game and got out of it. I got my money's worth out of that game, and so I played through it. The first, I pulled a page out of your book and played it on easy because it was actually really hard.
It gets pretty difficult, but you kind of like that even on whatever you could play it on hard. And you throw yourself at those missions as enough times, you're going to make it through. But you're going to stop having fun. So
it was hard. There was a couple missions that were pretty hard for me. And then I just said, screw it, I'm gonna play it on easy.
Kick it down, and then you can kind of like relax and
enjoy it.
Stop and look at all the stuff. And
for me, the story is just as important. It's just as much about the story for me as it is about, playing the game. Like when you stop and you get like an audio, like you find an audio kind of Easter egg, and you can hear, Shockwave talking about how he's, transforming the Dinobots and things like that. I want to stop and listen to it. Even though it really has nothing to do with. If the game is like an action type shooter, like there's not a lot of. I'm not too worried about.
It's like
I don't know. What am I trying to say? It's not a puzzle game, right?
No, and there's no. It's all like there's no cover system. There's no There's none of that. You're just running and shooting, driving and shooting, and flying and shooting.
Well, I like how you can transform at will. That's pretty cool. You can change what you want to change in different forms.
It never made any sense. Like in other games you'd play or whatever, there'd be some sort of mechanism, or you play like a Superman game and there'd be thugs punching you and you're getting hurt. It's like, well, what? Why even have that part of the game? That doesn't. Yeah. None of that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So
in this one, you just kick ass and take names and do your thing. Yeah, it's great game. I had lots of fun, and I liked how there's some levels where they play. Like some of the background music is music straight from the movie.
Yeah.
I'm like playing through it, and this is the battle scene song from when they, the one movie, or they have element like in, I don't know if you know the movie very well, but
Yeah, pretty well.
There's a scene in the movie where the Dinobot Slag enters a room by kicking a door down, and he crushes Quintesson, and then and he says, "Excuse me," and does this thing. Well, he does that in the game too. He enters a scene and crushes an Insecticon and says, "Excuse me," and I'm just. For me, it's gold, right? I'm laughing at Lily's watching me play this game, and I'm just like, beside myself, like laughing and enjoying myself, and she's just going, what's going on, Dad?
And it's just like a light show going on.
Yeah, like it's pretty intense, everything going on and all that stuff. But yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. It's a great game, lots of fun.
Mm-hmm. I really like even though they had enough stuff for you to do, like the missions are varied enough, or at least so far that I've seen, but just the design of all of the characters, like, I'm sure that the people who did the stuff for the movies are excellent artists, excellent designers, but they must have just felt like their hearts must have been breaking every time they had to do something more with more spikes and metal blades and and they really wanted to do was this. All the stuff that was in this game where the characters look like the characters, but
they're still different,
but like still... kind of, just I don't know, not even modernized, but like just redone for a different medium.
Yep.
But they look like they look like they. You look at the character and you know exactly who they are when you're walking through. Like you see Ratchet from way far away, and you see he's just this little block, and you can tell who it is.
Right.
When you walk up.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's what somebody designing these characters wants to do. If they get the job of redesigning them, is to be faithful to the original, but bring something to it, bring something new to it, not make it look like just a whirling bandsaws.
I don't want to talk about Michael Bay's abortion that is the Transformers movies, because they really are. They're just a complete. They don't even service the characters.
No.
Like this game, like Jazz is in character. That's Jazz, right? And Cliff Jumper is Cliff Jumper, and Bumblebee is Bumblebee. Although he doesn't have a voice, which is stupid. But anyways, they're trying to do some sort of continuity with the other brands, but
that was something that they've done in the cartoons as well. So,
okay, well,
it's
still stupid.
Not,
yes,
it's
it's stupid. So, anyways, they didn't need to do that, right? And so I'm, I don't really care for that sort of, what they've done, but the rest of it, I mean, it's great. No, no complaints, and I was. Hey, what can I say? It's great. That's why we play video games. For me,
that's a good game.
For fans, if you're a Transformers fan, it was funny when I bought it. The guy who worked at the game store started talking about Transformers, and he started talking like, he's a real fan. He actually knows what he's he just was gushing about the game too, right? He was really trying to sell me on the extra insurance that you can get for games, and it's like, I played through that game so much, and blah blah blah. He starts talking, I'm like, well, and then then I put on my Transformers fan hat and started talking, thinking, okay, this guy, he's an equal, right? And no, he's just some poser.
Dude, your Transformer hat's a 10-gallon hat, so it's
yeah. I mean, but the thing is, right? Like, if you're gonna talk the talk, right? You gotta walk the walk. Yeah. And no, he's definitely not he wasn't on the same level, right? Like, he just didn't. If you start talking about stuff like Teletran 1, the differences, or Casey Kasem voices, or that kind of stuff, right? He's just he wouldn't get it. That's pretty much the only thing the game was missing, was Casey Kasem's voice.
Casey Kasem, yeah.
For Teletran 1. So,
well,
yeah,
Cliff Jumper,
Cliff Jumper and Ratchet, and he did a lot of those characters. But I just said.
But you can't. Yeah, you can't just go and get
everybody.
A dead guy. Yeah.
But they got Peter Cullen to do Prime, which I thought was a nice touch, right?
He's only mostly dead.
Yeah, mostly.
No. I think he's probably very well. I don't want to...
Well, Peter Cullen? No, he's around.
No, I know.
You're talking about Casey Kasem?
No, I don't want to make. I don't want to make any jokes about Peter Cullen being dead when he's not.
Oh, no.
That's unkind.
Well, moving
Seems
on.
Like a nice enough man.
Old man now. Well, anyways, great game. Loved it. I'm glad you recommend it. And I beat it. I beat it on easy. The only thing that sucks is there isn't really a lot of replay value. There's no real reason to play through the levels all over again.
Yeah, there's not like a lot of collectibles or anything to explore. No, it's just you kind of bolt through and to play it, and I beat it. I'm done. I don't, I felt like I got value for it, for my money, and that's where it's going to end for me when it comes to this game. So, I think at the time when it came out, there was a decent multiplayer, but you'd be hard pressed to find anybody playing it now. So,
yeah, that's probably.
But that would be about it. That would be the only thing that would extend it.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, it was good. It was pretty good. And speaking of multiplayer, Steph got me Skyrim.
Oh yeah.
I never played it. I had
there's no multiplayer on there, but.
Well, yeah. Well, you can play it online, can't you? Multiplayer.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, really? I thought
Skyrim. I think that's pretty much just solitary.
Oh well.
You against the world, man.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I only I started playing it. She got it. She actually won it in an auction, so
cool.
It didn't cost me. Well, it cost us like $4 or $5, so it was it was fine. And I started playing it with Lily, and we built a character and did our thing. But the more I played it, the more I had to stop. I knew it's one of those types of games that if you actually got into it, it would be a crazy huge time sink. For me.
What did you get it for?
Well, I wanted to play it.
Oh no, as
PS3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm not playing it anymore. I might play it again later, but right now, I saw it, I tried it. I can say I've played Skyrim, but I don't know if I'm going to go back to it.
It's just, I only made it. I don't know, a decent ways in, I guess, maybe 16 hours or something, but that was it. I kind of topped out because there's just a lot in that game. Like you can kind of get down a deep hole, and I kind of want to play some other things. So,
well, that's what I was getting at. Just that games like that you really get value for your money, which is nice to see, but at the same time, it's just it's too much of a time sink. Too much. Like my neighbor Dan, he was saying he's over 200 hours into that game.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. See, I was just like,
that's a lot of hours, right?
200 hours is that's all of Mass Effect. That's every.
Yeah.
That's every Mass Effect game. So,
yeah.
And then some.
Yeah, no, that's more than just that's a lot of Mass Effect, but it's I can see the appeal to it, but I just don't have. I'm not a hardcore gamer that I could do that. As much as I like games and I played a lot of games and I grew up being a gamer, I don't think I've ever been that level of hardcore. I don't, where you can just you would sink so much of your life into something. Consistently, right?
It's especially one, that's like saying, well, I love reading, but I read just Lord of the Rings, and then I finish it, and then I start back at The Hobbit, and I just read it again. And it's like, well, I don't know if you actually like reading, guy.
Maybe you just like reading that.
That thing, you know.
Well, yeah. It's funny, another nerd moment. I was at a kid's birthday party, and I was talking to the dad of the kid. I don't like they were kids. Our kids go to preschool together, right? And we were just making small talk, and he was talking about the new Hobbit movie, and he really liked the Hobbit, and he's really into Lord of the Rings and Hobbit movies. And I'm like, oh yeah, have you read the books? And he said yeah, or so he made himself out to be a real Tolkien fan, right? And then so I started
Tolkien hat.
Yeah, I pulled out the Tolkien hat. I'm like, oh, okay, let's talk Tolkien, right? And no, I think I scared him away. It's like, oh, geez, I didn't know you were that level of a nerd. But it's funny, I didn't realize I knew that much, Tolkien lore, right? Like I'm not one of those guys that can quote Elvish and start, I don't read the I've never read the Silmarillion, at least not completely. So I'm not that hardcore, right? But nope, I guess I'm pretty hardcore. At least. Like, how about yourself? Are you a big Tolkien? Could you say you're hardcore Tolkien? No. I've read all the, kind of the main stuff. Just Hobbit, Lord of the Rings. That's it. Yeah, that's all you really need to read.
Well, it's good, but yeah, I don't feel like I need to go learn Elvish.
Yeah.
It's not making my life richer.
Yeah, well, I knew a guy in school back in the day, in high school, and he used to quote the Ferengi rules of acquisition in social studies class. Like, he was that much of a Star Trek fan that he learned it, and then he would apply it to school, right? And
now he runs the Federal Reserve.
I don't. No, he's a good guy.
Moral of the story.
I was actually chatting with him on Facebook a little while ago. I ran into him. He works for Parks Canada now, actually, so I ran into him at a park. But yeah, I mean, that's one level of dedication that I've not attained. I'm surprised that people can actually. I'm always surprised when people say they've learned these languages, like they've learned Elvish. Like, really? Who do you learn it from? Like, where do you have an opportunity to talk, to discuss it, let alone to use it? And how do you go about learning Elvish? Is there a club? Is there a local Elvish society? Like, and then what's the point? Is it just so you guys can talk Tolkien, or like I just don't get it?
I think you've described exactly how that works.
Okay.
There is a club.
Oh, okay.
And they are.
Is that like Vince's? What are the guys who play Quidditch?
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's
they exist. They're there. Oh man. Well, I suppose Tolkien was never. The only people who read Tolkien when I was a kid were mega fantasy nerds. There wasn't. People didn't read fantasy and Tolkien and that kind of thing, and it became so mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird.
I read it in school. Because I was in this English thing.
Oh, really?
Like yeah. Now I can barely speak the language, but apparently I was advanced at the time. But we read Lord of the Rings, which was good because it gets you out of doing anything else, but it probably suffered on my math because of it.
Well, that's such a big book. I'm surprised they let you read it for for school. All the books.
Yeah, but it's fun though.
Yeah, all the books it's actually a very well written book.
Oh yeah.
From a technical aspect, there's a lot for your English teacher to really dig into. We didn't have the opportunity to read that kind of stuff in high school. It was always Shakespeare, Edgar Allan Poe, a couple other small novels.
And then you get into my annoyance at people reading Shakespeare, like teaching it and then reading it, like they'll in English class.
Yeah.
Because I have pet peeve about that, because it's not that it was meant to be seen,
right?
Not read, and then so of course people are bored with it,
right?
They'll sit in class and be all, "This is boring." Well, because you're reading something you're supposed to be watching.
Yeah. And I found, for me, interpreting it was really frustrating. Like, because they would read bits, or you'd cover a couple of chapters, and then you'd have to talk about it and discuss it. There'd always be that discussion period. Mm-hmm. And I always found that really kind of awkward and just frustrating because, first of all, a lot of the language is, it requires interpretation and understanding of Old English, right? Like, the application wasn't clear to a 20th century mind. You're like, what are they exactly saying? And
yeah, a lot of the language is very different, and there's a lot of slang and things that were colloquial to the time that obviously aren't anymore.
I was having the conversation with someone the other day about the I think. Let me articulate this so I don't piss anybody off. But it was the difference between.
Oh, too late.
Too late. You're pissed.
Oh,
the difference between learned, or the way people express themselves and learn. Because the way in our society, if somebody can quote a book or quote Shakespeare, then they're automatically deferred to. Like if I'm having a conversation with you and I can just apply a quote, from Shakespeare or whatever, then there's sort of a deference given to me. Oh, he can quote Shakespeare. Oh, he's special, right? He must know what he's talking about because he's quoting a line, right? Which is false. It's a false presumption, right? Just because someone has a good memory doesn't mean they're actually smart or they actually know what they're talking about, right?
Plus, what's why is that any more valid than if you were quoting Transformers?
Well, that too.
Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm getting at more just how flawed we are, I guess, in the way our education system. The conversation as it was going, we're talking about our education system, and we're based off of the Prussian model of just memorization, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas a more effective model to create people who are more logic oriented or more reasonable would be, using rhetoric or some similar type of method, right? Where just like how Aristotle taught Alexander the Great, or Plato and Socrates, that sort of thing, where you build an argument and you discuss it and you find other ways to relate to people, right? And to present your information, and comprehension and analysis are applied, right? Whereas pretty much our education system is just memorize names and dates, right?
Yeah. Early on, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, for our children, for sure, that's all it is, right? And again, when it comes to, say, history, right? Well, it's all about names and dates and places. And if someone can quote or memorize the names and dates, then they're considered smart, or they know what they're talking about. Whereas really they're just memorizing and regurgitating facts, but they're not actually applying critical thought or knowledge or understanding. Like, what are they bringing to the conversation besides repeating facts, right?
Right.
So, does that make sense? What I'm getting at here?
No, but I'm going with it.
Oh, okay. Well,
it makes it makes sense.
It's just flaws in our education system, and
I agree 100%. Because then you get to when people demand a little more of you to come up with your own thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I was going to say university or whatever, but it isn't even. It's just once you start doing anything, and somebody's like, hey, have a thought in your head, then. Yeah, if you haven't learned that, you're going to have to learn it then. Mm-hmm. And some people never do. So, what do you... why not start from that point? Like start from trying to... I don't know. I don't know how far you go for kids.
Well, it's awkward, and I think what it is it's giving... It's doing all of us, and you and I included, people who who grew up with the education model in this country a disservice, right? Because it's not giving us tools to really succeed. It's giving us tools to do a job, to be a drone, right? But it's not giving, like, how many people do you know enjoy critical thought and having conversation and sharing ideas and, you know, like tinkering with things and, like, really, like, how many people would rather work and come home and, you know, they just want to have their six-pack and watch a hockey game and call it a day, right?
Well, I wonder if I wonder if that's, I don't know, if that's actually something that is inherent to a lot of people, or if they, you know, like, if you really enjoy debating something, you're going to go out of your way to debate, right?
Yep.
But if you don't, I don't know that you can bring somebody to that water. Like, they're not interested. They're just not going to be interested. But I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
whether you can teach somebody to be interested.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe a better teaching method can. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think if just people, I'm arguing, you know, if people at least had the option, right? Like, you know, just give people the best tools you can and let them figure it out. That's all I'm really saying. You know, if you all you want to do is you don't want to debate or you don't want to get involved, that's fine. But at least if you had the tools that you could debate if you want to, that would be nice, right? Or you could make critical, like, apply critical thought. Or I guess I get frustrated because, let's say I come across a news bit or something that a thought that challenges the current paradigm, right? Like, you know, an alternative. Like, for example, my wife went to a doctor last week to talk about stomach issues, right? It was like it was a meetup group, right? And the doctor was in his 60s, and it was more like it was a research thing for him as opposed to a group where people could talk about their issues and get some help. And so my wife had a lot of questions related to some of the current studies going on where, like, you know, like, there's methods right now. So people with IBS, they found success where they transplant fecal matter from one patient to another, and then that will, or they'll, you know, they'll gut flora.
Super gross, but maybe effective.
Right, but the point is there's lots of different studies going on with alternative medicine. You know, that I won't say it's alternative, but it's new, groundbreaking studies. New it's approaches. Definitely it's not what this guy, you know, learned in med school 45 years ago.
Right.
So when she asked him legitimate questions regarding these studies and medical breakthroughs and anything, he laughed in her face, right? And all she was doing was asking legitimate questions. And he's like, "Oh, that's just crazy science," and that's no way to be a rational, reasonable person, right? Like, if you don't know, you don't know. But, and I guess that's where I was frustrated based off of her experience, because that sucks. And, you know, I don't like people who are unreasonable.
Well, and that's also not a very scientific outlook. Or way to, like, I can see dismissing something that's obvious nonsense. Is like, well, if you put a little bit of this dirt in your water and drink it or something, or if you know, like, it, well, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But if it's something like, well, your gut flora or fauna needs to be restored from time to time. Maybe that's something that's actually, like, there's a way to boost those bacteria. Do you have to, you know, like, that's a route to study. It's something you can also create an experiment around,
right?
To test it and be like, well, let's see if this works. And then if you find out that it's wrong, it's still going to teach you something because you've created this experiment and tested it. But just saying, that's bunk. Well, I don't know if that's
how
helpful.
Productive is that? Like, how did we get any answers? How did we ever get off this planet? You know, or even, like, how did we achieve anything if people didn't ask questions, and try things and experiment. And so when you have, just this sort of negativity, and I think a lot of people, and I guess the root of where this conversation started is a lot of people don't, they if something challenges their paradigm, they just shell up, or people don't apply logic. Like you could show them X, Y, and Z about something, but if they choose to believe something, you can show them as much proof as you wanted for anything, and they'll just, they've already got their mind made up. They're just completely irrational, right? Like, you can show someone the benefits of recycling, and they just still won't do it because they just don't like to, or they're lazy, or
which
it's just
if they just say, I don't want to because I don't like to, I can think that's foolish, but at least
honest.
Like, okay. But okay. It's the people who go, well, I don't think it really does help because and then you get like, well, there's like it's not even, well, that's not even up for debate at this point. Like it's been very beneficial to a lot of places. Yeah. There's a lot of countries. Where was like Sweden, I think. Sweden just ran out of garbage. Yeah. They have to start importing garbage because they've been vaporizing it to make power. And that's so they're great, like, we're out of garbage. Yeah, but that's a weird problem. That's no society has ever had that issue. Yeah. So it's something new, something like, wow, they burnt all their garbage and made electricity out of it.
Yeah, did something useful with their garbage,
and then captured the carbon and used it to make other things. Like
I think that's the way to go.
Effective for them.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the way to go for waste disposal. I mean, you go to any landfill and it's crazy. The thing that's crazy is when you go to the landfill and they won't let you take garbage out.
Yeah.
You go, well, that's useful still. No, you can't take this garbage. This garbage belongs to the city now. It's like, well,
like, that's half a bike.
Yeah,
why don't I just take it?
Like, I remember we were there and there was, those clay pots, those for gardening. But there was something like, they're worth like $50 each. And they were brand new. They were just sitting there. Not a scratch or crack on them. And we went to load them up. They're like, no, you can't do that. Someone ran over and told us you can't have those. I was like, what the heck?
Does
that make sense to you?
Well, there's a certain amount of public health and safety, but there should be also like, well, you can't take that unless you sign this waiver saying, if I get tetanus from whatever nonsense I'm picking out of the dump, then it's on me.
Well, his argument was there's people who pay a license with the city to pick the garbage and then resell things. So they weren't going to make any money off of me taking their garbage. So,
Yeah, but at the same time, garbage is garbage. Well, once in a while I see the people come by and like try to get cans out of the recycle bin or whatever, and I don't care. Like if you want to go take those and go deal with whatever and do the whole, then have at it. Like that's fine, but I could see some people get all upset about somebody rooting through
what was
garbage.
Happening in our neck of the woods down here was there was a bunch of guys that were actually, they would trespass, like they would open up your gate and they would take your they would take stuff out of your yard, right? And they were taking people's garbage, like they're not their garbage, they're like their bottles. So they say put your cans and things outside, or they would just take whatever property they saw fit to take, right?
Right.
And first of all, it's trespassing, and and theft, but these guys,
cool.
Yeah, it's not really cool, and the city wasn't, over here at least, people called the police and actually, like they took pictures of these guys and they did a whole bunch of stuff, but that it wasn't deemed enough of a priority for them to follow up, catch these guys. And so there's a safety angle if you're taking other people's crap, but trespassing is, I totally went off subject there because I'm like, where am I going now? Just shut up.
I don't know.
Yeah, okay, whatever. I'm tired. I've been
Dude's been stealing my garbage.
Yeah. Well, I don't like crazy guys coming into my yard.
No, you don't want them.
That's not
setting up camp in your yard, sure.
Yeah. So, anyways, no, I've been burning the midnight oil a lot with work, so. Right now, I'm just doing a drawing of Duncan MacLeod from the Clan MacLeod.
I saw that.
He's coming to the Comic-Con, so I figured I'd do a drawing of the Highlander because I'm a big fan. I love this show. I used to watch it all the time.
I watched a few of them. They were decent.
Yeah, well, I like the Highlander movies and being Scottish.
I like the.
It just was a natural fit.
I like the one movie.
The first one. Well,
yeah, and then that was about it.
The one with Mako, Highlander 3 wasn't too bad. Highlander 4, actually, Highlander.
Yeah.
4, okay. Highlander 5 was. I can't believe anyone.
There's a 5.
Oh yeah.
You surprised me. I had not. I didn't know there was a 5.
Owen, who has spent so much time seeing schlock movies.
Oh, I've seen some crap movies.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We watched Bruce Lee, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. The sort of biopic movie of him, and I hadn't seen that in
I like that movie.
years, right? Yeah, I want to go see. I want to see this Bruce Lee movie, and then this movie about Bruce Lee, and then so after I saw it, I went and started watching the other Bruce Lee movies. I used to own Enter the Dragon, and I've seen that movie a bunch of times, but I hadn't really sat down and watched movies like The Big Boss or Fists of Fury or The Chinatown Connection, those types of movies. So I sat down and I watched The Chinatown Connection the other day, and it wasn't bad.
No, they're all right. You kind of know what's going to happen in the first couple minutes, and then it spends the rest of the movie paying that off. So,
well,
that's all right.
What I found kind of, what got me was I've seen Enter the Dragon. That was the one that I saw the most, and it, as a Bruce Lee movie, it has a certain feel to it, right? Like it's serious. It's a real action movie. It's not hokey, right?
Well,
and
it's pretty hokey, but it's
it doesn't cross that line of, like, for example,
it's within its own logic or whatever. Yeah,
in The Big Boss, there's Bruce Lee's fighting a guy and he hits him and it leaves a cutout in a barn wall of the guy's body shape when he kicks him. Like that kind of slapstick stuff isn't in Enter the Dragon, right? So when I was watching this Bruce Lee one, the Big Boss, I wasn't expecting that kind of thing, and I mean it was funny, it was good, and it's weird because it was very comic or comedic, like that type of thing to do, right? I wasn't expecting that at all. And then they go ahead.
Which is such a more like you would expect that out of a Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah,
but not,
I did
Bruce
expect
Lee
that
movie. So
that was kind of fun, and
I haven't seen that one in ages. I haven't seen actually a bunch of them. I would go over to the one video store and they had 7 for $7 or whatever, 7 days, 7 movies, $7. And I'd just get all of them. And then, because there aren't that many, I'd get a couple others too. I'd get whatever, a couple Chuck Norris flicks and something.
Just having an action movie marathon.
Yeah, just be like, what's this one? This one's got, at the time there was, no, I guess there wouldn't have been any Jackie Chan ones that were, there would have been, but not anything that would have been at a video store, so.
Yeah, he didn't really show up on the scene around these parts till later. Like even in the 80s, he wasn't really.
Well, when I was in university, we would go watch Jackie Chan movies like just nonstop at the university theater.
Oh,
we'd watch
I remember
Jackie Chan and Jet Li movies. So
yeah, Jackie Chan movies became big around here after the Rumble in the Bronx came out.
Right.
And then they started bringing out his other ones like Super Cop and Condor. Or, I think is it Condor?
Operation Condor. Yeah.
Operation Condor. Yeah. Those shows came out.
Armor God. Sure.
Yeah. So those were fun movies.
Police Story.
I don't think I've seen Police Story.
Police Story is excellent. It's actually, Police Story is excellent. You should watch that.
Watch Police Story.
It's worth seeing.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. So, anyways, I Joe and I used to just hang out, and we would, we would just go to Saz Video and just find whatever shows, let's go walk down the aisle. And they always had that aisle of like schlocky movies, bad kung fu movies and whatever else. And that's all just pure gold if you're a kung fu nut, right? So it's like, oh, this one, I haven't seen this one. The Magnificent Kick. Yes, this sounds great. No plot at all. and it literally had no plot. It was just about a magnificent kick, right? Or, Renegade Monk, or, Black Belt Jones, or those types of movies, right? Classic. Pure entertainment. So they don't really make movies like that.
Black Belt Jones was at like the dollar store the other day.
Oh, was it?
The other day, a little while ago, I saw it sitting there. Yeah, it was like one of the, it was a DVD for $1.
Uh-huh. And you didn't buy it?
No, I didn't.
Oh, Owen.
Which is why I remember it now. Thinking, why didn't I? I should have bought that.
Yeah, it's a good flick. It was a good one. Ooh, they did, I know we were talking about Black Belt Jones, or Black Dynamite a little while ago.
Oh, yeah.
But they made a Black Dynamite cartoon on Adult Swim. I don't know if you've seen it.
No,
it's awesome. It's awesome. It's, just like the movie, but better, right? And, he's basically a big ripoff of Fred Kelly, Black Belt Jones. Like, not a ripoff, but he makes his noises and does the same kind of sounds that Jim Kelly did. And, he's kind of a spoof on that character. And, it's you gotta watch it. It's free. The episodes are free on the Adult Swim website.
Oh, okay. Well,
you can watch them.
I should do that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. If you're into
that
sort of
something
thing.
That I think I probably am.
Oh, yep. Yeah, I know. I am.
I just checked with me, and yes.
Yeah.
Yes, high school age me would have been way into that.
Yeah. Nice. So what are you working on, man?
I am redesigning some character stuff, so I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to model some of these characters for a game, and at the same time figure out how to kind of restylize. I was looking at the style for some of the game working on, and it was too kind of, I don't know. It's stylized, but it was too dark, or too, I don't know. It just didn't have the right feel. It didn't feel like the content of the game. So I am thinking of curves. So there you go.
Like you're trying to change the character, like of the game.
Well, yeah, like the whole feel, and that'll kind of branch out from the main character. Like I'm trying to imagine how he would look, and then how he would move, and how that would kind of change the whole feeling. Because I kind of know how the light looks, but not necessarily the morphology of the objects. Like, what are they like? Am I playing it straight? Does a sword look like a sword, or does a sword look like, I don't know, something much more smooth and curvy?
Is this Dungeon
Caddy?
Like
it needs to be, yeah.
Okay.
It needs to be a little more comical, but not, or a little, I don't know, happier, but not comical. Like, it's not brightly colored. Because that's so the original idea was I was looking at a lot of like Middle Eastern shadow play stuff. Mm-hmm. But that has a real... it is very colorful, but it has a kind of a stark look. Mm-hmm. So there's some of that in there, and then there's some of... it has to be a 3D object, not just a flat object, so that changes how you design it. And
just a sec, Owen. I gotta pause for a minute, okay?
And now, before the next show starts, let's enjoy an intermission. You'll find our snack bar chock full of good things to eat and drink. Tasty, tempting hot dogs, thirst-quenching soft drinks, fresh, crunchy popcorn, a complete assortment of delicious candy, and a full line of cigarettes. You've plenty of time, so visit the snack bar now. A tasty treat will double your enjoyment of the show. For your convenience, we shall keep you informed of the remaining intermission time, 3 minutes before the next show starts.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello.
Did you catch any of that?
Yeah.
You got the whole thing?
No.
No?
No, I heard 2 minutes. You got 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Your clock's running.
That's Lily came down to have a chat. So, anyways, you're talking about the design. See, I'm looking at the sword you're doing right now, and it looks more like a whip than a sword.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I don't know. Like when I look at the shapes of these arms, I'm assuming that's an arm there.
Yeah.
It looks like two blades. Like it's very sharp. Everything's sharp.
It is.
And you've got all these triangles, and I think that might be part of the problem. Is that everything is a triangle? Like the body is a triangle, the forearm's a triangle, the biceps a triangle, right? Triangles are sharp and aggressive.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I don't mind it looking, or this character looking aggressive. That's part of the thing, but the I guess it's just more stylized, less kind of a squat human shape, and more something that would be like cut out of paper, or something a little more fanciful, not so concrete, like something that doesn't look like a thick-bodied, solid object. Something a little more fanciful.
You might
I'm having trouble getting across my...
Yeah, you might want to just stick to silhouettes right now, like while you're working out the form from far away, right? Or I'm just trying to think of ways you can workshop this to get to where you want to go. Do some silhouettes, and then you're just looking at the shape itself, or do some studies of like a real person, like draw it, and then start understanding that, and then derive it backwards.
Yeah, that's kind of how I got to the first set, right? So now I'm like, now I got to go a step removed from that,
So you want to refine the design you already have, or you want to come up with something new?
I don't know, man. That's why I'm doing this.
Okay.
I'm searching. I'm in search mode.
One thing I like, there's a type of cartooning style where everything looks sort of like melted wax. Are you familiar with that? Kind of drippy, like some of the Smurfs type stuff, like that sort of French cartooning, where everyone's sort of got bent knees and their like their feet all kind of rubbery, and that sort of rubbery look. Mm-hmm. You might get some visual cues from that kind of work. Wait,
I'll look at everything, but it's, yeah, I'm not sure.
Look at Dragon's Lair stuff. Dirk
Said
Daring,
I'm in search
Don
mode.
Bluth.
Yeah, see, maybe a little bit more of that. That's very, that's a lot of, it's a lot of S curves and.
Yeah, and a lot of sharp lines, like his fingers.
There
are
is,
all
yeah,
sharp.
and
And
like that.
Like you look at Dirk Daring,
Head like a
actual,
rectangle.
What I can do is I have a book about storyboarding and animation by Don Bluth, and a lot of it is stuff from Dragon's Lair and The Secret of Nim. So it's got a lot of like model sheets and whatnot from that.
I'd like to just look at that for just looking at that. I don't.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a cool book.
Know.
It's called The Art of Storyboard by Don Bluth. And it's a little dated because he spends a lot, he uses a stopwatch and stuff when he's putting together things, and now software's kind of eliminated a lot of the steps that he does, but all the principles are still valid and the same. It's actually a really cool book. It's I'm glad I have it. So yeah, you can take a look at it. You might get some ideas just looking at his work, and. His design's clean. It's very clean and economical.
Yeah. Well, and other thing that I noticed was I lost a lot of detail. Like I kind of modeled the original character. I modeled his face, not super detailed, but enough that you could tell it was a face. It had a nose and stuff.
Right.
And at the scale it's going to be rendered at, it's all lost.
Oh,
so
okay.
that was, there's no benefit to me doing a nice, a bulbous nose and some, that character's not going to come across.
Okay.
Just, that's just technical limitations. So.
Well, really you're just looking at the silhouette.
Yeah, and catching light along an edge, so. Of the way it's lit, so no.
Well, catching light.
Yeah, well, I've got this this shader effect that I built that kind of that lights everything from behind and sort of from within.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a positional light. Like, it's not a light, there's not a position for that light in the world. It's per object. And it makes everything look really interesting, but it's also, it can really lose your detail. So, yeah.
Flattens it out quite a bit.
Flattens it out. So if you kind of work with that and say, okay, well, it's going to flatten it out anyway. What's the best use I can get out of things? Then I started moving towards, if you move towards cubes and then triangles, because triangles they always catch the light on one edge.
Right.
So I don't wind up with just a black edge. I always get a kind of a rim light. So, yeah. There you go.
Well, sounds like it's more technical than it needs to be. Like, your shader has made it more complicated.
Well, no, I think as soon as you make something into a video game asset, it's more complicated than it immediately gets 7,000 times more complicated.
Yeah.
It's not a lot you can do about that.
Well, I'm not sure if I can help you.
Well,
not right now.
I think you probably will be able to, and as I move along on it.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe if I've had more to look at.
Yeah, especially once I get to the modeling stage, you probably start to see, where things.
How much are you going to have to redo, because you've been kind of playing with this project for a while? Is this a big setback for you, or is it just sort of a executive decision you made that that I'm not happy with this? I want to, try something.
That's about it. It's not particularly a setback, because there was going to be a lot of stuff needing redoing anyway. So it's like, it gets to that point where you got to redo a bunch of stuff, and so then you can decide to, well, how long do I work on this stage of it, or do I move along to
the worst part stage? Is that time where you keep working it, like you're putting off trying to redo it, like having to redo it.
Exactly.
You keep working it, going, I'll keep working it, I'll figure it out, it'll work, and then
exactly. And that's, I had to be done with that part.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Huh. Cool. Well, interesting stuff, for sure.
I'll send you more when I have more.
Yeah. Well, what was this you're talking about? Doing a remote, like where you come over here, or I go over to your place, and we do one of these things.
Right.
Yeah. What was your idea on that?
Well, I was going to come over there and I was going to twist your nipples.
Very enticing. But yeah, you're thinking.
Yeah, just pack up the laptop, and I can, bring it over, and then, just do ones.
Do a remote one.
Yeah. Or actually in the same room one.
Yeah. Probably better audio.
Yeah.
With all the problems we've been having. But, well, something to try. I think. Give it a shot. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, I thought Vince was going to show up, but I think Vince was busied.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to pick his brain. Like last time we talked about actually learning a thing or two from each other. So I'd like to know more about the process with actually when they make those highly detailed 3D models. And I have to talk to him about that one. It'll be kind of interesting. Might as well get something out of it. Besides just hacking on Vince, because every once in a while we tease him.
Yeah.
So it's like, I should learn something from him too. But, or if you guys ever have anything, you want me to go over, like maybe we could set up some actual content, or like a tutorial or like a Q&A, or something like that, right? Where we, we do something that plays towards, one of our specialities, something that we all work on, or, we know something about, like for me, like drawing. Okay, well, this is how I do this, or whatever. Might make the podcast a little more interesting. And, once you, are you still thinking about, bringing on some of your other buddies?
Yeah. Other than, doing what we're doing right now takes like 5 different pieces of software, and it's kind of, I don't know if that's cool, if that's acceptable
for one of them.
For people.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, like, really, what do they need? They need to record it.
Yeah.
And then a microphone and Skype, right?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So, it'd be better if well, you can do that if you have that version of Skype. Isn't there a version where you can have multiple people, or do you have to pay for that?
You have to pay for that.
Oh, okay, well, screw that. Oh well,
yeah.
I'm sure there's something free out there that we can find. There's so much free stuff out there.
Yeah, well, there's this other thing that we're using there, but it's a bit flaky. Mm-hmm. And then there's there's Google Hangouts, but it has its own sort of small issues.
Mm-hmm.
With not being, I don't know.
I know when I worked
corporate
issues. Years ago, we used to use something called MikoGo, and you could remotely log into people's screens and look at what they're doing and that kind of stuff. It was really good for IT when you're trying to fix someone's computer remotely. But I wonder if it had any applications, that we could use.
Well, there's lots of there's GoToMeeting, and there's a ton of them that are paid.
Okay.
And I'm not I'm not averse to doing that. But I am averse to asking other people to do that.
Would they have to pay for that too?
Well, some of them, yeah.
Really? Huh.
So that's not something I'm going to do.
No. Oh. Well, why would they even join up then if they had to pay for it?
It's
like, yeah, you can come talk to me, but it's going to cost you.
Yeah, that's just weird.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Owen, but no thanks.
Yeah.
Have a good one, buddy. Yeah. Well, yeah. Once we figure it out, go from there. I know I talked to my buddy Dave, and he said he'd like to join us, and he'd be, able to at least get the software that we're using right now and do it the same way we're doing it. So
because all this stuff's all free. It's just a matter of organizing it,
setting it up. Yeah. So, other than that, that's where we're at.
Yeah. Did you have any topics you were thinking about doing just for
today, or just?
No, like in the future. I think we're probably getting close to wrapping her up here. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd love to get a tutorial or see how you guys would do a photorealistic model of something, right? Like I find those types of 3D renderings really interesting and inspiring. I like rendered stuff, look, I'm rendering right now, right? So, I mean, I like that look, when people put that extra time and effort to really make something pop or be accurate. I appreciate that. But I don't know how it's done, or it's interesting to see how it's done, or maybe we could pull out like an example, something from, find it off of the internet and break it down. Like, this is how this person did that. That'd be kind of interesting to learn.
Yeah. I'm not going to be real font of knowledge on that because I'm not. I don't really do it's all real time stuff, and also not. I'm not particularly interested in photoreal. Not that it could be very detailed. I'm not.
I said it because that's something we had been talking about, right? And maybe Vince knows more about that than, like you said, he might know more about that.
Oh yeah, probably.
And I don't know. That's the first thing that popped to mind. I mean, I think whatever we end up doing, I mean, even just hanging out and drawing and showing off our stuff is still fun. There's things to do. I don't know about. I can't come up with anything off the top of my head with regarding what I'd like to see. Think about it. Or anything I can contribute or whatever. I'll just play player. No stress.
You should really try this Krita if you haven't already. Well, it looks interesting, and Photoshop's been really buggy for me lately, so it might be nice. The newest version of this came out, and it's fantastic. It's I don't think there's anything that I would miss from Photoshop in here.
Really?
It's all that says everything, and it's all really well laid out, and it's not dumb like GIMP, and it's good stuff.
Not dumb like GIMP.
Yeah, GIMP's dumb.
Huh. Well, I should give it a shot. Just making the time. It's all about time.
Yeah.
That's my biggest challenge. Yeah.
I was telling you a little bit about this tablet, the new tablet I got.
Yep.
This Huion. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a Chinese-made thing that's, it's like for the same space, the same kind of resolution, the same pressure sensitivity as an Intuos Pro. That would be like $350. This was $100.
It's nice to know that there's alternatives on the market now.
Yeah,
right?
and I was skeptical, so I looked up every kind of review and because I figured I'd tried other ones before and they were always bunk. This is really, really nice.
Well, you're not the first person I've talked to who's looking to break the yoke of tyranny of Intuos. Just the cost, the price point per It's just too much, you know. And,
like they're great. Like I have never had any issue with how they work, but
no, they're really expensive, right? Like
there's really expensive.
Like they have their bamboo products, right, which are supposed to be like entry level, or you know, but there really isn't a middle of the road product for this type of thing, right?
No. Yeah, like still, this is like the low end. It's still $100, which for me isn't like that. Doesn't, you know, for a nice tablet, $100 is nothing. But for somebody, if you're just thinking you want to try it, that's pretty steep still.
Yeah, like it's. I think it's important if you want to encourage people to try new things and to get into your products. You got to make it affordable for them and reasonable, and you know, so for you know, you got to have enough. The quality of the entry-level stuff has got to be good enough, at least, to not put you off of buying more. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it's got to be at least decent that you're going to go, hey, this is pretty good, and, you know, I like doing this, so I think I'm going to upgrade, or I see a benefit to upgrading. I mean, it's just smart business marketing for them to do that. And, you know, it's nice that there's more competition because that forces the price point down. And also forces them to have more, like, better quality, because to be honest, you know, like they haven't had any competition, and I think they overvalue their products. Like they charge too much for it.
Well, and then these same guys, what I was gonna get to, this same company is making a Cintiq version, like a monitor with tablet in. Mm-hmm. And I think it's 3 something.
Right.
So, you know, which is what? That's like a third of what the lowest price Cintiq is, or something.
Oh yeah, that's very affordable. I know this guy Sander who works at Heavy, he needed to get a new tablet type device for his company. And he went ahead and, same as you, he went and found an alternative to. I don't remember the name of the product he got, but he went and found an alternative to the Cintiq, just to keep the price point down and to have something different, right? Mm-hmm. And I never heard back if I haven't seen him in a while, but if it worked out for him or not. But it was substantially cheaper, like almost 4 times cheaper, and for what he needed, he didn't need to have all the the bells and whistles that the Cintiq offered. I guess what I'm getting at is the Cintiq is great, it's awesome, but it's overkill for a lot of certain tasks, right? And it's also one of the only choices you have, or up until recently. So be nice to see. Yeah. Okay. So this is my Duncan MacLeod so far. I'm just going to do a penciled drawing of the guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're going to color it, or you're going to just...
I think I'm just going to do it like a nice study,
That's nice.
Just a good drawing. Nothing too... Not a full airbrushed piece, because that's just a crazy time sink. Like that Predator piece took me between 60 and 80 hours, probably.
Yeah. Like, are you going to sell that at...
Well, I can't. Well, I don't know. I don't. No, probably not. But it's great marketing. To have it out there to show this is what I can do. Mm-hmm. So,
wonder where we could float that to get it. Should put it on Reddit. Oh, there's probably a Reddit concept art.
Yeah, there's places I'm gonna like. I put it up on CG Hub, and I got a lot of hits already in DeviantArt and those places. But it's a great marketing tool, and I need to maximize it. So I need to get it out there. Like I know Dave, he did some drawing of Plants vs. Zombies last year, and it went viral. It went up on some video game site, and he got thousands of hits. So it's just a matter of getting it in the right place. And generate some more interest in my work, my site, get some stuff. I mean, I did the piece as a study just to go full Struzan, as it were, like do a full Drew Struzan poster and, just try his technique out, but try to do it digitally. And I think it was successful. There's things I would do differently, but his technique is crazy labor intensive. Like a ton of like he renders the thing 3 times. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, and I think it pays
for
off.
him. But
Well, he go on.
Oh, I'm just saying, like, he probably got paid pretty well for those posters.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And he even admits it takes him 60 hours a week to do, or 60 hours to do a piece, give or take. I mean, that's quite a bit. It's a lot. It's a major time sink. So you got to get value for these pieces. And I think he did well. Obviously he's retired now, but digital speeds things up quite a bit. But I took my time.
Isn't he dead?
Oh no, he's still around as far as I know. I hope not.
So.
He's not that old. He's only in his 60s, I think.
I think Drew Struzan died.
Really?
That makes me want to look it up. I'm making you sad.
I'm gonna look that up.
I've made Mike sad.
Well, let's just look at his born. He was born in 1947. He's 67 years old. Let's see. Wikipedia, would that have I think it's on a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't have they haven't, like, his death or anything hasn't gone on there. Because they would say he's been alive from X to, from this day to this day. So, no, he's still alive and kicking. He's just retired.
Who's I thinking about then?
I don't know. Frank Frazetta's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He died a little while ago.
Yeah, I know.
Huh.
He did the Silent Hill movie poster. That's not as good. Not one of his better ones. He's just so good. His work is just so good.
Yeah.
Just like his studies, like Luke Skywalker's study here. It's awesome.
Oh, you know who I was probably thinking about is
who?
Star Wars designer.
Ralph McQuarrie.
McQuarrie, yes.
Yeah, he died a while ago, though. But he died. That was a sad day when Ralph McQuarrie passed on.
Yeah. Okay. See,
wow, it's
I
like
had
old
so
booze.
There's so much sadness in me from.
Ralph McQuarrie died. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
No, it is pretty sad that he passed away.
No, that's. You know what? You know what makes me sad? Every time I see Stan Lee talk somewhere.
Why?
Because I know Stan Lee's old.
Oh, that he's not going to be with us very long?
Yeah, he's probably only, got a few more years in him. Maybe, maybe 10, maybe 15, I don't know.
I was listening to the guys in Sidebar talking about the origins of Batman.
Yeah.
And Bob Kane...
We're talking about Bill Finger?
Yeah, well, there's some other guy who actually had a lot to do with, Batman's origin and creation. And he didn't get, like, a nickel out of it. And he really got the short end of the stick. And I didn't know. I mean, these guys know their comics lore and, all that kind of gossip and stuff. But I had no idea.
The Schuster and they pretty much didn't get anything for Superman either, right? Like,
really?
It was kind of, I think they started to later on, but it was a lot of years before they got any money. They pretty much got shafted. Really?
I didn't know that.
What's the other guys said? Joe Shuster and it's failing me at the moment, but the Superman creators didn't, and it was Bill Finger was the other who wrote pretty much all the Batman stuff.
Yeah.
I
didn't know that.
He didn't get anything.
Yeah, it's kind of sad how that worked out, but it is what it is, right?
Well, it was definitely a different era. This is something we should have. We should get Jim Zupkovich on and talk to him about, because I'm sure go on for ages about all that.
Yeah, does he know a lot about that?
Yeah, well, all the he's really into the business of creator-owned comics and having his own creator-owned comic and being really enthusiastic about it. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, I think I've spoken to Jim like twice in my life, so I don't know him like you did.
Oh,
I went to school, the same school as you did, but I didn't take the animation. And you worked with him at Arenya, right? So.
Yeah.
And when he was teaching the animation course when I was there. Mm-hmm. And I used to come in there and pour over the model sheets and wish I was in the animation class instead of the 3D class. They looked like they were having more fun and they were learning something instead of us teaching ourselves how to do stuff.
Yeah, I didn't mind, but we were teaching ourselves.
Yeah, we were. The joys of AMTC. Is that place even still around? Like, is there any? No, there's no. It's not around anywhere. And
no, there's no
I thought I heard that
remnants of the. No.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was still around in someplace in New Brunswick or Eastern Canada. They still had a school.
Oh, I don't know. I think it folded completely.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
There was quite a few fly-by-night schools popped up around that same time, but we just lucked out.
Yeah, we happened to get it, and look where we are now. We learned a lot.
Still just sketching little dudes.
Well, yeah, no, I mean it was a good school in the sense that we had some good times. And I learned some stuff, but it wasn't. I guess less than anybody listening to this, if you're going to go to a school that's not accredited by, an official body like the government or something, make sure, you get what you're paying for. Well, and you have a teacher the whole year because our teacher dropped out after 4 months and then we didn't have a teacher.
No, they were accredited. They were a diploma program.
Yeah, but they weren't by the the provincial government didn't give them that, did they? I thought they were just sort of.
I got my invisible bachelor's.
Okay.
Through them, my one that if I had paid money they would give it to me, but I didn't, so they.
But didn't. Did you go through SATE or something to get that?
It was a combined credit program. Through,
okay, so you had to apply it. Well, then what am I trying to say then? Because it just something about the school was fishy.
Well,
it looked real good.
It was accredited, but it was a fly-by-night operation. So
if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But I remember when they kept all of our Maya textbooks in the storage closet. They weren't going to give them to us.
Yeah, that's super weird.
I still have those textbooks.
I'm keeping them.
Yeah, you worked hard for those. I don't know what to do with them. I mean, it's from Maya 1, so they can't really be worth anything.
No, they're useless. Completely useless.
But they look good on the shelf. Mm-hmm. Salty the Seal, all that good stuff.
You can pull them out and say, "Look."
What was that game that we used to play while we were doing all that rendering? That one tank battle game.
Battle. No. I think it was just called Tank 3D or something.
Oh, I just remember we used to play that one, and you'd always know who killed you because their handle would show up, right? And I always remember that Colin guy. It always said, "C. Jenkins, super genius." Every time he shot you dead, that line would pop up, and it used to piss me off.
I haven't thought about that guy in a bazillion years. All right.
Yeah, I wonder whatever happened to him, but yeah, that's funny. I remember that line, and it's funny. I was watching Bugs Bunny with Lily the other day, and Daffy Duck uses the super. No, not Daffy Duck. Wile E. Coyote uses the super genius line. It's like Wile E. Coyote, super genius, and I thought, oh, so that's where Colin got it from. That's what popped into my head. I'm like, oh, it kind of triggered some synapse somewhere that had been lying dormant for 20 years.
Yeah, that did. I think I eroded that one.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I think we're going to stop recording now because I'm